The opening scene takes place in an underground metro system where communication between characters establishes the setting. The atmosphere is tense as characters discuss important matters that need attention. A serious situation develops involving mutant attacks on guard posts. The community is preparing a defensive response, creating an atmosphere of unease. A group gathers to share drinks and discuss the situation, highlighting the balance between normal social interaction and looming threats. During a social gathering, there's discussion about someone being too introverted and spending too much time with books. The conversation is interrupted by an emergency situation, showing how quickly peace can turn to chaos in this underground world. A crisis erupts as the station becomes a battleground. Emergency evacuations begin through side passages while defenders try to hold the south entrance. Instructions are given to use explosives to seal off certain areas, highlighting the desperate measures needed for survival. A philosophical reflection on darkness and perception occurs, exploring how humans relate to what they can and cannot see. This contemplation is interrupted by practical concerns, showing the contrast between deep thoughts and survival needs in this post-apocalyptic setting. The scene shifts to a medical facility where someone is treating radiation sickness in merchants. The station chief is mentioned as being in a bad mood, setting up tension for upcoming interactions. Life in 2028 is described, with different factions maintaining an uneasy peace. The community has adapted to living underground, developing systems for food production including mushroom farming. Daily life continues despite the harsh circumstances. A crisis develops involving damage to a mushroom farm, apparently caused by someone experiencing hallucinations of their dead son. This incident creates tension between community members and raises questions about mental health management in this confined space. A deeply personal conversation unfolds about medication, hallucinations, and grief. Someone has stopped taking their medication, believing they can truly hear their deceased child, leading to conflict between rational medical approaches and emotional needs. Plans are made to retrieve important medical supplies, involving dangerous travel through hostile territory. Equipment and weapons are prepared, showing the risks involved in maintaining medical care in this post-apocalyptic world. The journey begins through less traveled routes, avoiding dangerous elements of the metro system. There's reflection on the harsh realities of surface life compared to underground living, with appreciation for surviving Soviet-era equipment still functioning after 100 years. A visit to a museum brings back memories of a first date with Yanna during university days. The choice of museum was made to appear refined, though the current route doesn't actually go through the museum itself. This marks the first visit back since their separation. The archive's entrance is located above the escalators. Memories surface of waiting 3 hours for Yanna at those same escalators during their first date until she finally appeared behind unexpectedly at 3:06. High radiation levels are detected in the area. A gas mask becomes necessary equipment, along with extra filters. Regular checking of the watch is crucial to monitor filter duration and know when replacements are needed. Strange markings resembling a snake are discovered painted across the museum. Discussion ensues about whether supernatural elements exist in the metro or if humans are behind the unusual occurrences. The environment is described as hell-like, with constantly changing rules. Reminiscing about Yanna's fascinating personality and an amusing story about hypnotic regression therapy where she believed there was a connection to historical figures. The session proved unsuccessful, but became a source of station gossip. The archive's floor has collapsed, making the stairwell inaccessible. Emotional memories of loss and separation emerge, with haunting voices calling out. Discovery of fresh bodies shows signs of being fed upon. Evidence suggests the victims had been traveling through mutant-inhabited areas, deviating from normal caravan routes. Situation becomes increasingly dangerous with the discovery of multiple casualties. The bodies appear arranged in ritual formation, accompanied by snake symbolism. The search continues for Nat, known for bright-colored hair and punk rock jacket. The story shifts to a station scenario where multiple characters seem confused about others' whereabouts. There's growing concern about Yanna's disappearance, leading to urgent attempts to locate her through old smuggling tunnels. Strange voices are heard on radio frequencies, raising concerns about potential nearby presence of others. The unusual radio activity is particularly worrying, given the rarity of working radios in the tunnels. A discussion about accessing a pumping substation through a metal hatch, nicknamed Eugenia, occurs. The location has unfriendly pressure seals and requires special controls located in a nearby office booth. There are mentions of a hidden stalker spot and references to providing juice to those in need. Communication issues arise as voices cut in and out over what seems to be a PA system. Someone mentions searching for something useful, while others express impatience about waiting. People are discussing their assigned tasks in an uncertain location. Some are checking a specific area, while others are told to keep their eyes open. The atmosphere is described as quiet, but there is an underlying tension and fatigue among the group. A tense situation develops as something is detected inside ventilation systems. The group suspects lurkers and attempts to investigate using flashlights. This leads to heightened alertness and defensive positioning. A conversation about navigation and time anomalies in Moscow after a nuclear war takes place. There is skepticism about whether these anomalies actually exist, with some arguing they are just tales, while others suggest the place itself might have always been strange. Description of a tragic historical event at a station where overcrowding led to chaos during bomb threats. Trains arrived while people desperately tried to board, creating a dangerous situation. The scene shifts to a memorial site that appears empty. A disturbing revelation about slavers setting traps at memorial sites, preying on grieving people. There is particular concern about children going missing and discussion about supernatural elements, with some dismissing these as delusions. Tension rises over missing shipments and an operation being suddenly relocated. There are attempts at radio communication and searches for missing persons, including someone looking for their separated husband. A doctor named Xander reports being captured by slave merchants. Another person named Swana reveals similar circumstances with her husband Alex. Discussion about power outages and station security occurs as the situation becomes more dangerous. Exploration of ventilation and plumbing systems while discussing relationships and past connections. There are suggestions of supernatural elements in the station, though some remain skeptical. The situation becomes more urgent as threats emerge from unexpected places. The action moves toward a location called Hell's Mouth near the train yards. There are references to missing children and local superstitions. The situation becomes increasingly tense as they approach their destination. The scene culminates at a transport area with cages. Attempts are made to free people, but the rescued individuals show signs of trauma and distrust, particularly toward medical professionals. The situation remains volatile and uncertain. A confusing situation unfolds where slaves have mysteriously vanished. There is concern about Jonna and regret over shouting at her. The scene portrays uncertainty and emotional distress over recent events. A disturbing discovery reveals everyone dead in a transport vehicle, including prisoners and guards. There are signs of poisoning, possibly from blow darts. This raises questions about who could be using such weapons, as logic suggests the dead cannot breathe or think to use them. People are trapped inside a dark metro car near St. Clements. They are desperately trying to find a way to restore power and return home. The situation feels tense and claustrophobic as they wait for help in complete darkness. The trapped passengers explained they were fleeing an attack when everything went dark. There is mention of an electrical substation that could restore power to the tunnels. The focus is on finding a solution to their immediate crisis. A shocking revelation occurs when only bones are found where voices were heard, suggesting possible hallucinations. Meanwhile, slavers are preparing reinforcements at a depot, indicating Jonna might still be alive and nearby. An intense encounter with Jonna reveals she believes she must go with worm people for unknown reasons. The scene is filled with confusion and emotional turmoil, as attempts to rescue her are complicated by mysterious circumstances. Strange visions and experiences are causing serious concern about mental stability. There are references to Genghis Khan and suppressed fears emerging, creating a sense of losing control over one's identity and reality. The narrative shifts to past experiences in the metro tunnels, including stories of getting lost and hearing mysterious voices. There is growing uncertainty about what is real and what might be hallucination. Concerns about mental health intensify with references to discarded pills and possible schizophrenia. The tunnels themselves are suspected of causing mental instability, leading to increased paranoia and confusion. The scene shifts to a philosophical discussion about survival after an apocalypse. Strange encounters with possibly imaginary people lead to discussions about a cult using a worm symbol and a mysterious place called Hell's Mouth, while reality continues to feel increasingly uncertain. A confusing situation is described where a section had collapsed after some gates, possibly related to a mechanism. The exact nature and purpose remains unclear, but it seems to be tied to an old station. An emotional discovery occurs when someone finds a rare book written by a father figure. The book appears to be a spy novel featuring British espionage themes. The mother apparently had mixed feelings about it, referring to it as the other woman after the author's death. The conversation reveals that an evacuation attempt had failed due to mutants, though strangely, there were no signs of struggle or bodies. The scene takes place in what appears to be a hidden library. A long-awaited book is finally delivered to someone named Tamir, who had been waiting extensively for it. This book holds deep personal significance, as it was written by his father at the same age. The conversation suggests supernatural elements, with references to seeing Tamir, despite implications he may no longer be alive. The discussion turns to past lives and spiritual connections, specifically focusing on a potential reincarnation connection to Genghis Khan. Through hypnotic regression, details emerged about a ceremonial event involving Khan and a kidnapped bride. This connects to recurring dreams and visions being experienced in the present. A hypnosis or summoning ritual begins using fire as a focal point. The participant is encouraged to focus on finding their wife while staring into the flames. This leads to intense visions mixing past, present, and possible future events, suggesting some form of prophetic or psychic experience. The visions become more intense, revealing dark themes about power and destruction. References are made to the metro and how people ignore the past. The scene shifts to conversations about someone named Peta and their location, suggesting they might be trapped in a specific station. A tragic turn of events occurs with the death of someone named Max, apparently killed by hostile forces. The scene describes a supernatural dark phenomenon that seems to absorb or annihilate spirits, representing an ultimate form of death that goes beyond physical destruction. The narrative reveals supernatural abilities to communicate with spirits or lost souls. Someone has developed the capacity to hear voices others cannot, particularly those who have passed on. The discussion centers on concerns about a missing person named Alex and whether they might be trapped between worlds or unable to communicate if found. The conversation begins with a philosophical reflection about a place where people tried to reach their deceased loved ones. While many attempted this, none succeeded in truly connecting with those who had passed on. This mysterious location is no longer accessible. The setting shifts to a unique space called the Metro, which seems to have its own consciousness and will. There are discussions about whether the Metro exists as a supernatural entity with its own awareness, or if it represents the collective consciousness of all the humans who have lived within it. A method of getting someone named Alex's attention is described, counting backward like a countdown. This person appears scattered and distracted, requiring this unique approach to maintain focus. The area is notably free of hostile presence, providing temporary privacy for the search. A melancholic moment occurs at a shrine where someone is singing for a loved one. The scene is particularly poignant because while the singing is happening, others cannot hear the actual song. This creates an atmosphere of isolation and disconnection. A significant encounter occurs with Pia, who recognizes a familiar bandana. A character named Sar introduces themselves as an old friend of Pia's mother. Pia expresses concern about being separated from their mother, who was last seen searching in Tryakov. The situation is complicated by dangerous creatures lurking in the darkness. Pia shares personal stories about their mother, including her tendency to get lost easily. The conversation reveals a close mother-child relationship where they share everything. The mother's disappearance has clearly affected Pia, who waited faithfully at the station despite her absence. The search continues through dangerous areas, with Pia hearing their mother's voice. However, something seems wrong with the voice, creating tension and uncertainty. The situation becomes more complex as they navigate through this mysterious environment. The characters enter the crypts, described as underground spaces similar to libraries but containing people's memories instead of books. This creates an eerie atmosphere as they discover empty vessels that once contained human essence. The scene emphasizes the theme of loss and preservation of memory. The truth about identities begins to unravel. A crucial revelation occurs regarding stories and names, suggesting that someone has been deceiving Pia about their identity. This creates tension and uncertainty about the reliability of previous interactions. A deep reflection on past lives reveals concerns about being reincarnated as Genghis Khan, who was responsible for countless deaths. There is a strong desire to avoid repeating such a violent path and instead focus on helping others in need. Strange sensations and sirens create an unsettling atmosphere in the underground shafts. There is a sense that something unknown is causing harm to people, creating urgency to keep moving forward. A terrifying vision reveals dead people whose essence was being destroyed by a dark force. This entity feeds on anger and grows stronger. The immediate goal becomes finding a missing mother who is supposed to be met at the station. The journey leads to what appears to be an abandoned metro station, though there are hints that it is more than it seems. Extreme fatigue and strange sensations continue to affect those present. A touching story about a mother's bandana emerges, revealing its significance as a connection between mother and child. The bandana serves as both a memory and a tool for reuniting family members. The underground environment becomes increasingly hostile. Frequent attacks suggest mounting danger, while ammunition and resources become scarce. There are references to a great worm and growing anger. A confrontation with cultish followers of the Great Worm reveals deeper mysteries. They speak of mankind no longer being worthy and identify a woman as having special significance in their beliefs. The narrative concludes with philosophical musings about the nature of darkness and light. It suggests that those who persevere through darkness will eventually witness the first glimmers of light, offering hope in the midst of challenging circumstances.